Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are left over with two important things in stomach. One is a small one, that is the complication which I was dealing about, the complication of bleeding from perforated ulcer or from the peptic ulcer. That is left over. We'll deal that in the last. But the most important topic which will be discussed today is gastric cancer. Gastric cancer is called the captains of men's death. What does that mean? Men are more involved than female, number one. Number two, it has now come up widely, not very extensively, but widely in some parts of, extensively in some parts of the world, but it is also coming very fast in India also. Japan and China are the worst sufferers of cancer stomach. Maybe due to their food habits, reasons are not very clear. The predisposing factors for carcinoma of stomach is number one. Now the most interesting and most common cause is the H. pylori. The H. pylori, if not eradicated properly, number one, or if an irregular treatment of H. pylori, number two, number three, neglected treatment of H. pylori with recurrent infection results into dysplasia, atrophy, metaplasia and cancer. So this is one of the most predisposing factor coming up nowadays for development of cancer stomach. Other predisposing factors are gastric polyp, usually that is adenoma, leftover, undiagnosed or with neglected, converts into an adenocarcinoma. It can present with smoking, alcohol, dust, pernicious anemia. These are all the predisposing factors developing for the patients to develop cancer stomach. Cancer stomach is good in the sense if it is diagnosed early, but this is the rule for all cancers. If diagnosed early, the results are good. If it is diagnosed late, results are bad. The distribution of cancer of stomach is in the upper GI tract. You have to take it as such as the whole. The maximum number of incidence of cancer of stomach is in the lower esophagus, the OG junction and the cardia, which comprises of about say 60% of cancers of stomach. About 30% of cancer of stomach is in the antrum and the pylorus. Rest 10% is in the middle esophagus and only 2 or 3% in the upper esophagus. The reason for the lower end of the esophagus, the cardiac and the OG junction is, of course, the oesophageal epithelium, which develops adenocarcinoma and which we have discussed in the chapter of cancer oesophagus. So these are the distribution of cancer of stomach in the various regions of upper GI tract. The histopathology of cancer stomach. Various classifications have come up. Mainly the classifications are histopathological, which is difficult to describe here, but one clinical classification which I will be dealing with is a Lawrence classification. The Lawrence classification, you have two types of cancer of stomach. One is the interstitial cancer, that is, it grows into the interstitial cells where the predominates, where the gastric cells are already metaformed into metaplasia has taken place and presents as an ulcer or as a growth. Number two is the diffuse type of cancer, which is highly invasive and penetrates into the deep wall of the stomach and invades adjacent structures. Naturally, the second type, the diffuse type, has a very bad prognosis. The clinical features of cancer stomach is very difficult. In early stage, it is very difficult to diagnose cancer stomach because the only presentation what you get with the patient is dyspepsia. So in countries like Japan and China, it has been a rule, a patient over 40 years of age presenting with dyspepsia, recurrent dyspepsia or a persistent dyspepsia has to undergo repeated screening program that is run by the government of Japan and China. So that helps detection early, and once the detection is early, the results are absolutely wonderful, encouraging. And the screening is done by, of course, endoscopy, but the late features, advanced features of carcinoma stomach is belching, bloating, abdominal fullness, vomiting, anemia due to bleed, slowly bleeds and results in anemia, anorexia, loss of weight, gastric outlet obstruction, and many more. These are the presentations of late features of carcinoma stomach. But there is one interesting thing. There is one non-metastatic presentation of carcinoma of stomach that is called, it presents as a thrombophlebitis in your body, in the body of the patient. And that is called the Trousseau sign, T-R-O-U-S-S-A-E-A-U-S, Trousseau sign. That is a thrombophlebitis with the patient, presenting with thrombophlebitis in a patient of cancer stomach. It can also present with deep vein thrombosis. So these are the clinical presentation of cancer of stomach. Now we should go for the spread of cancer of stomach. The cancer of stomach spreads, number one, directly. It directly invades the adjacent structures, the pancreas and other structures, adjacent structures. Number two, it spreads through the lymph nodes, lymphatics. The first lymph nodes which is involved is the perigastric nodes. Subsequently, it involves the lymph nodes of the main arterial tract. This is the way it metastasizes into the lymph node, spreads into the lymph node. Third spread is by bloodstream, and bloodstream is they spread to the liver, it spreads to the bones, the lungs, and everywhere in the bloodstream. And lastly, there is one interesting spread again, that is the direct peritoneal spread, where it spreads directly into the peritoneum. And at times the victim is the ovary, and you find the patient presents with a ovarian tumor, and that is called the Kreuzenberg tumor. And when it presents at the umbilicus, it can directly present in the umbilicus. It's a nodule in the umbilicus. It is called Sister Joseph nodule. While I was discussing about the lymph node, the metastasis through lymph node, the patient may present with the supraclavicular lymph node, and that is called Troisier sign. So these are the various ways the patient, the cancer stomach spreads out. Number one, direct spread. Number two is spread by lymphatics. Number three is spread by bloodstream. The lymphatics will result in Troisier sign, may result in Troisier sign, that is supraclavicular node. And finally, the direct spread, which results in females as a Kreuzenberg tumor and or as a Sister Joseph nodule in the umbilicus. So these are the way of presentation of spread of cancer stomach. Now, the staging. We have the classical T&M staging for cancer stomach. T is for the size of tumor, the nature of tumor, N is for the nodes, and M is for the metastasis. The tumor D1. D1 is when the tumor involves the submucosa. Make it very clear. D1 is the tumor involving submucosa. D2 is involving the muscularis mucosa. D3 is involving the mucosa. And D4, it is involving the adjacent structure. I think it is clear. D1 submucosa, D2 muscularis mucosa, D3 is mucosa, and D4 is adjacent structure. So this is the classification of tumor. The nodes. The first nodes to be classified is the perigastric nodes, and that is N1, and then finally the nodes of the main arterial trunk, it is the N2. Metastasis anywhere in the body is N1. So this is the basis of classification of TNM. But to be more precise, this classification is standard, accepted all over the world for the classification of any cancer. Now you stage the cancer accordingly. We have 1A. We have T1, N0, M0. This is 1A. T1, N0, M0. 1B is T1, N2, M0. Stage is T1, N2, M0. And T2, N1, M0. And T3, N3, M0. This is 1B. Is it clear? 1A, T1, N0, M0. 1B, T1, N2, M0. 1B, T2, N1, M0. And T3, N3, M0. This goes on increasing as such. Stage 2 is T1, N2 and M0. Stage 2 is T2, N1 and M0. Stage 2 is T3, N0 and M0. These are all in stage 2. Stage 3 is into 3A. That is T2, T3, T4. And N2, N1, N1. No metastasis. And T4 is T4, stage 4, any T, any N and metastasis. So this is how you stage the cancer. The diagnosis of cancer of stomach, of course, the mainstay of diagnosis of cancer of stomach is endoscopy. When you do endoscopy, you find it presenting with the polyp, ulcer, and in an earlier stage with the suspected lesion. If you suspect a suspected mucosa, you take a biopsy and you diagnose cancer. Subsequently, when the cancer is advanced, you require to know how far it has spread and what is involved or not to plan the surgery. So you go for a CT scan, you go for a MRI, you go for a PET scan and various investigations to see the degree of involvement of other structures. What treatment? Finally we come to the treatment of gastric cancer. What do we do? The stage, in early stages, the results are very encouraging, and the results are very encouraging. The patient becomes, average life is more than 10 to 15 years. But in late stages, the prognosis is bad. So what surgery we go for? Normally in India we diagnose it in a late stage. It's very difficult to diagnose in early stage because of the less expertise in endoscopy examination. And when you diagnose it, it's quite late, metastasis has taken place, and in that case, the nodes are already involved, so you go for a radical gastrectomy. A radical total gastrectomy. The entire stomach along with the nodes are taken out. And the continuity of the gut is maintained with oesophagogastrostomy, which I was talking about in cancer oesophagus. This is the basic treatment for cancer stomach. But suppose it is in the body of the stomach and lower antrum. In that case, you may, and the involvement of nodes are restricted, not much involved. Then in that case, you can go for a partial gastrectomy and with gastrojejunostomy. That can also be there, but nodes are to be taken out. A radical operation has to be taken out. This is followed by chemotherapy. What chemotherapy we give? Epirubicin, cisplatin and 5-FU. These are the established chemotherapy which are using, but nowadays newer drugs have come up, many other drugs have come up. which are being used for chemotherapy in gastric cancer. Radiotherapy, not very encouraging, but still people are working on it and may come up. This is all about cancer stomach. Thank you. We have one more thing left over, that is bleeding duodenal ulcer, which we left about when we were dealing with the complications of ulcer. Now, when you get a patient of bleeding duodenal ulcer, what does that happen? The patient presents with vomiting of blood, that's hematopoiesis. He may have melena too. There are various causes, numerous causes for hematopoiesis and melena. But what the idea is to the physician is the patient usually comes in the emergency because the patient has various degrees of bleeding. It is either small, it's moderate or very torrential. So in all the three conditions the patient comes to the emergency. So the principle of management of such patients is what is the pathology of bleeding first? The pathology is the duodenal ulcer bleeds, the gastroduodenal artery bleeds, it bleeds from the posterior aspect of the ulcer, which I have already told you earlier. And then what is the management? The first idea is to resuscitate the patient. How do we resuscitate the patient? We resuscitate the patient with IV fluids, blood and various things. If it is a torrential bleeding and shock, then we may put in a central line and take blood and thing and build up the patient. Then we go for an endoscopy. Endoscopy is done in the same stage, in the emergency stage or in the late stage. If the bleeding is controlled, it is not in the late stage, and when it is in the late stage, we go for endoscopy, see the bleeding, go for an injection, sclerotherapy, or go for a laser therapy. There are much modalities and stop the bleeding. If the bleeding is torrential, and then what we do? We go for an emergency endoscopy, but that becomes very difficult when you work with a pool of blood, but still you try to inject or laserize the lesion and stop the bleeding. Now if the bleeding stops, it's well and good. If it recurs, it is again bad, or it doesn't stop, it is again bad, or it's mildly oozing, it's again bad. So in this condition, when the situation is like that, we go for surgery. Now what do? The duodenum, second part is fixed to the peritoneum. We caulkerize the duodenum, open the abdomen, caulkerize the duodenum. That means we separate the duodenum from the retroperitoneal area and take it out, so that the view of the pylorus and the duodenum is very nice. And we give a longitudinal incision over the pylorus and the duodenum and open the duodenum. You are able to see the bleed there. The posterior, the gastroduodenal artery is also filled by fingers, and the vessels are underrun by a bite, and the bleeding is stopped, and the wound is closed transversely and helps the patient to stay in a good condition, and the patient is saved. This is what it is for bleeding peptic ulcer. Thank you very much. We have finished, Shama. Thank you.